Welcome to the 2020 WhistleStop Winter Haven Virtual Hobnob. Welcome. My name is Katie Worthington Decker, and I am the President and CEO of the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce, and it is my privilege to be your MC for this video series. WhistleStop Winter Haven is traditionally an in-person event where members of the public can come together to shake hands and get to know the candidates that are on the ballot through one-on-one conversations. But as we all know, 2020 is a year to adapt, so we have pivoted this event to an online series of Zoom interviews. We certainly hope you take the time to listen to each of the candidates and learn a little bit more about them and what they stand for and while they're running. We have invited every candidate on the ballot in Polk County to participate, and we want to thank those candidates who did decide to do it. Full disclosure, the Winter Haven Chamber does not endorse any individual candidates, but we do believe in an informed electorate. So we hope that you find these videos useful as you are getting ready to fill out your ballot. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this video series. Our presenting sponsor is Citizens Bank and Trust. Our Meet the Candidates sponsor is Spectrum. Our additional sponsors include Citrus Connection, the Hemingway Group Realtors with Crosby & Associates, John Wood Realty, and the campaign of Sam Killebrew, District 41. As I mentioned, there are two important dates for you to remember coming up in this election. On August 18th is the primary. And while there are the traditional Democrat and Republican primary races, there are also some very important local races that will be decided during that election. These include school board, county commission, supervisor of election, and the Lake Region Lakes Management District. And of course, the second date to remember is the general election that will be held nationally on November 3rd. We hope that you will find this video series useful, and please encourage your family and friends that are eligible to vote to do so. It is our greatest right as American citizens. Enjoy. Well, Congressman Soto, thank you so much for joining us today for this WhistleStop Winter Haven virtual hobnob interview. We are so excited to have you with us and get an opportunity to have our viewers learn a little more about you. And since you have been so kind to participate in this WhistleStop series and have bought your virtual booth, the Florida Division of Elections does require you to disclose that in the following statement.
Sure, absolutely. We're honored to purchase a booth. This message is brought to you and paid for and approved by me, Darren Soto, Democrat for United States Congress, Florida's 9th Congressional District for the 2020 election.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. So for our viewers that may not know you, you've been an elected official in our area on the state level side. And so many people do know you, but for those viewers that may not, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a lawyer by trade. I practice a lot of commercial law, real estate, even some civil rights work over the years. Been practicing in Florida since 2004. Going a little bit back in my history, I'm of Puerto Rican and Italian descent, and my whole family moved down here from New York, New Jersey around 2000, and the rest of my family came up from Puerto Rico a little before that. I'm married to Amanda Soto, an amazing teacher and math and science coach and language arts coach in Osceola County Public Schools. And many of you may know I served our community in the Florida legislature before that. I served 5.5 years in the Florida House after winning a special election. And at that time, I didn't have the honor of representing Polk County yet. But then in the Florida Senate for 4 years, I got the opportunity to represent Haines City, parts of Davenport, and Winter Haven. And then, of course, Now I'm in my second term in the United States Congress, representing all of Winter Haven and most of East Polk County, including 13 cities altogether, along with all of Osceola County and East Orange County. I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee, the committee that regulates pretty much every Fortune 500 company in America. I did that because higher paying jobs, which we'll talk a bit more about during this interview, are a priority for our area, along with diversifying the economy. And I also serve on the Natural Resources Committee because environment is an issue we all cherish as Floridians, and it's something I focus a lot on now. And so we do everything we can to fight every day to improve the quality of lives of our constituents, including in Winter Haven, Florida. And I just appreciate, Katie, the opportunity to be able to speak with you today.
Well, we appreciate everything you do to fight for us up in DC. So what are you most proud of during your tenure so far representing District 9 in DC?
I'm most proud of the work to diversify our economy and bring more higher paying jobs to the district. We know this is one of the biggest challenges in Central Florida. We live in a beautiful area, but a lot of people work very hard for not a lot of pay. So there's a lot of issues across the district we've worked on. Specifically in Winter Haven, we worked with the cybersecurity and data storage facilities. A lot of people probably know, if they live in Winter Haven, that there's an amazing and budding tech industry happening there. And we've worked with both Florida Department of Transportation, Winter Haven, and U.S. Department of Transportation so that every time we dig, every time we make a road improvement, we're connecting to this amazing fiber optic cable, basically the information superhighway of Florida. The biggest fiber optic cable in the state flows right under Winter Haven, Florida. And so you need that kind of access to the internet, the fastest known to the country, to be able to fight the bad guys on the internet with cybersecurity and to be able to store massive amounts of data. We see stories like that in Frostproof, where we were able to shepherd in the first new major steel plant in the South in many years with Nucor. We had to work on a endangered species relocation permit that took forever. You know the sand skink, if you live in Polk County, that was a long process, but we got it done, and that's going to create more high paying jobs there. And of course, we see that throughout the district with microelectronics and Centris Manufacturing in Osceola County, at Neo City with medical research and biotech at Medical City at Lake Nona. We see it with simulation training and helping to train our U.S. military with basically virtual reality training programs at the UCF East Orlando area, aerospace, and NASA. We have the busiest spaceport in the world in the district next to ours. I live so close to it, I could see launches from my backyard in Kissimmee. And of course, we have many folks who either have small businesses or actually work on the Cape themselves. So these are a lot of things we've got to continue to work on to really boost our economy and bring our community forward.
Well, you certainly outlined all the great things that we have going on in this Central Florida region, and specifically with technology and infrastructure and really new ways of doing things, simulation culture and technology. So, you know, it is a very important thing for our area for that. So besides the things you mentioned, the committees that you serve on in DC, and of course, those top priorities that you just mentioned, are there other areas that you focused on during your tenure in office, either bills that you have backed or passed, and things that you're proud of in that area?
Sure. Well, first, we'd be remiss if I didn't mention we're in the midst of a pandemic right now and a recession, one that has hit us harder than the Great Recession with regard to unemployment. So the major priorities for me right now are testing, tracing, and treatment so that we can protect our fellow Central Floridians, to get a vaccine so we could get beyond the coronavirus and we could repair our economy. We've worked on major issues related to the CARES Act, particularly in healthcare. One of the main things I've had to do lately is just respond to the crisis. And in the Energy and Commerce Committee, we have most of healthcare under our committee. So we've worked very closely with Baycare, with Advent Health and Orlando Health to make sure our first responders and our healthcare workers have enough personal protective equipment. We fought to make sure we had enough remdesivir. You know, we had a huge amount of cases in July and early August. Those have been starting to taper off, but there was a shortage of one of the only two therapeutics known to help save lives, remdesivir, along with plasma from survivors. So we fought to get more of that really life-saving therapeutic drugs here into Central Florida. We also worked on mobile testing in East Polk County. We worked with Central Florida Healthcare to make sure that every city got mobile testing. Sometimes many of them have had 2 to 3 times mobile testing right now. And of course, we worked with small businesses, the Paycheck Protection Program that saved so many small businesses from the brink. Take it from me. I had a small business for over 10 years, had to make a payroll twice a month at my law firm. I know it takes a lot of work and a leap of faith every payroll. And we are going to continue to work on the HEROES Act to extend the Paycheck Protection Program, have stimulus checks to help boost our economy. The unemployment is absolutely key for many Central Floridians who don't have work to go back to because tourism was so hard hit, because people are, I understand, somewhat hesitant to travel right now. And of course, we need to make sure we're having food assistance and housing assistance, and also making sure our schools can open safely. So while normally there'd be a whole bunch of other bills I could talk about the environment and technology and all these things, right now, it's about meeting the crisis at hand, both in Central Florida and our nation, so that we could get beyond this and get back to business as usual.
Mm-hmm. So obviously COVID is going to be, or COVID recovery is going to be a key topic moving forward in future sessions. Are there any other items that you feel are very important, if reelected, that you would kind of push to the forefront of your agenda?
Sure, infrastructure is huge. We know we need to get the additional funding to expand I-4 all the way down to 27 through Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties. We need an infrastructure package so that we could extend Sunrail in through Polk County into Lakeland, which then will connect up with the high-speed rail that is being built right now between Miami and Orlando, and soon with stops all the way in Tampa and in Lakeland. And so we know we need to help fix the traffic in Polk County to improve the quality of life, particularly for those who may commute to Tampa or to Orlando. In addition, we need to have a national infrastructure package to be able to get Americans back to work as we get out of this recession. We also need to combat climate change. Even though we're in the center of the state, we're going to continually have more and more hot days. We're going to have stronger hurricanes. And we do care about Floridians on the coast who will face increasing rising seas. And of course, we got to raise the wages. That's absolutely critical. There'll be an amendment on the ballot to raise the wage to $15 an hour. And of course, in any national infrastructure package, like the one we passed out already, the Moving Forward Act, we'd hope we can get that done early next year to get Americans back to work, combat climate change, and create more higher paying jobs in the process and help our growing region.
So you mentioned high paying jobs and jobs, as you mentioned. The tourism industry is such a strong part of your district's economy. I mean, frankly, from Legoland to Disney, Universal, I mean, everything is really centered around your district and the surrounding area. So that's obviously a top priority for your constituents. But what else do you think are the most important priorities for the constituents in District 9?
Sure. So healthcare is huge. We know now more than ever with the pandemic how important it is to have primary care so that you don't develop major pre-existing conditions and be more vulnerable. And so that's going to take building upon the work of the Affordable Care Act. We saw that act reduce our uninsured rate in Florida by 1/3, but we need to expand Medicaid. Our hospitals would get a great amount of money to help expand healthcare. We get more coverage to nearly 1 million Floridians. And then we need a public option for folks who just don't fit into any of these other areas. We also need to lower prescription drug prices. And we already presented and passed the Lower Drug Prices Now Act that I was happy to vote for, which would allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices just like Medicaid and our VA do already. It would reduce seniors' prescription drug prices by about $1,000 to $2,000 a year, and we use some of that savings to expand to hearing, to vision, and to dental coverage. And then finally, our environment is a big thing that I work on a lot. A lot of the bills I have moving right now are relate to the environment. We have money in the budget to help continue the restoration and recognize the Kissimmee River as a wild and scenic river, which obviously makes up the border between Osceola and Polk counties. We're working on bills with Senator Rubio in a bipartisan fashion to help protect the Great Florida Reef, the third largest reef tract in the world, and it's dying right now. And also to make sure that we could protect the Everglades, Lake Okeechobee, and stop red tide. It not only hurts our ability as Floridians to be able to go outdoors, which we love to do, it also affects our water, our public health, and our business. So these are areas we're going to continue to work on to get additional restoration dollars for the Everglades. Obviously, the Kissimmee River fits into that. So those are some of the issues I hear a lot about over the last couple years, and obviously I'm working closely on.
Mm-hmm. It's funny as you're talking about all of those things, and you know, in the careers that we're in, you know, we've been working through COVID and dealing with the day-to-day of our constituent bases, our members, in my case, your constituents and yours, that you sometimes forget about all of the other issues that pre-March of this year were still such important issues to our area and still need to be championed when it comes to state and federal attention. So as we've mentioned, and we're doing this interview over Zoom versus face-to-face, this election cycle is probably unlike any you have ever been through when it comes to reaching out to your constituents and having conversations. And that door-to-door knocking on doors process isn't there, but let's say it was, and you were knocking on someone's door and they opened the door and you said, I'm Darren Soto and I'm running for District 9. And the voter said, well, convince me to vote for you over your opponent. What would you say?
Well, that we've delivered for the district, and that's really what the job is all about. Take Winter Haven, for instance, and we could talk about different areas across the district. We did everything from help get the new ag building there, the Mayo building into city hands to expand out the number of square footage that the city has. We brought millions back in airport grants for Winter Haven, Florida. Obviously, not only the seaplane capital of the United States, but also a real key for executive and business travel and some tourism travel. We talked a lot about the cybersecurity and the data storage companies in downtown Winter Haven that have been critical, obviously, for job growth in the region and helping them connect to the cyber highway to continue that job growth, and also to work with local healthcare giants like Baycare to have the resources they need to combat the pandemic and keep our constituents safe. I could go on about this in other areas across the district, but I think it's important to focus on how we've delivered specifically for that particular community, because people need to know, specifics are so important when you hear so many generalities being spoken. And one last thing I'll say that we work very closely on with the Winter Haven community is citrus. That is a huge issue. I served on the Ag Committee last term when we passed the Farm Bill. We were able to get millions of dollars for citrus greening research. We worked earlier this year to help with what was a glut of citrus short term, as so many of our juice manufacturers had bought Brazilian orange juice, thinking after Hurricane Irma that we'd have issues. And also, finally, Hurricane Irma itself hit Polk County particularly hard. We brought back tens of millions of dollars. I, in fact, wrote the statewide letter that our delegation signed to bring back relief, along with then at the time Congressman Ross and Rooney. And so when crises arise, like COVID or like hurricanes, when we have struggles economically, or we need to make sure we have a strong voice in Washington to keep our economy and our quality of life going, we've delivered, and I hope to earn everyone's vote to continue to get the job done for Winter Haven and all of Florida's 9th congressional district.
Well, thank you. And yes, accessibility to our congressman is incredibly important. And so we thank you for your attention and your investment of time and treasure into our community. So Congressman Soto, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to participate in our WhistleStop Winter Haven program, and good luck on the race.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Of course.